Welcome to Gamechangers, the podcast where we sit down with people who are not just participating in change, but driving it. I am your host, Roy Wills. Welcome again to another episode of Game Changers. Today I have a special guest. Basically, in each episode, we explore the ideas, the decisions, and moments that are reshaping industries. Today's guest is a data scientist, a pretty hot industry right now and career path, who leads the AI initiatives at a digital health company. But her journey started in a completely different world as a college lecturer in China. She made a bold pivot, came to US, and is now at the forefront of AI agents and large language models in healthcare. So let's dive in. So at this point, I want to make sure we cover all legal aspects, and Lou has a statement she has to read here before we get started. So Lou, you want to do that?
hmm Yeah, I just want to say everything I said here is just on my own. It has no intention of saying anything on behalf of my employer.
Okay. All right. Now that we got that out the way, let's have some fun. So, Lou, your path is unusual. You went from being a college lecturer in China to doing a master's in business analytics in the US. What made you decide to completely change that direction?
Well, I was teaching business English to English major students, and it's kind of repetitive. It's same material, and I don't see a lot of growth. And honestly, I'm not so into academia world. So I was like, and I see like the data is changing the industries. And honestly, my sister-in-law was in the business analytics major, and she said she's learning all this cool stuff and everything. And then I think, why not? I can take this chance to make a change. I can learn all this tech stuff as well. So
Yeah.
I came to US, did the major change, and then the rest of the story.
All right. The rest is history. That's right. So let's backtrack a little bit. So when you landed in Denver for your master's, what was the transition like, both culture and the shift to discovering data science?
Well, I think culture shock is for sure. Before I studied in the U.S., you watch TVs, you visit here, but visiting here is different than living here and get interacting with people every day. So you feel the cultural difference. But I think that's because I'm an English teacher. I know what I'm expecting. And for the major wise, it's more tech than the English I was majoring in. But I was studying like a science in high school. So I can pick up those stuff like the Python database and analytics or everything. And it's actually pretty cool. You just put your energy in, you learn all these courses and you understand it. It's very nice.
That's fantastic. You make that sound easy. I know it's not easy. So, obviously the your journey is very important. And I'm glad we covered that. But let's talk a little bit about the actual data science, healthcare data science in practice. I know that encompasses a lot of things, and so let's touch on a few things. So, you worked at two very different healthcare companies. One in kidney care, the other is basically a digital health company. How does data science show up differently in each?
Well, at the first kidney care company, it's a big company and it has like a ton of patients. So that means we have a lot of structured data about the patients. And we also have a lot of unstructured data like the notes, doctor notes, nurses notes, and all these things. We're trying to build let's say build a model that can help tell if a patient is going to leave the company,
Hmm.
and why is that. Our model try to make the prediction and more importantly to explain why this patient is going to churn. So this will give the nurses some guidelines on how to make some early intervention so that the patient does not leave. And
Mm.
I think the important thing is we build a model and the nurses comes in and they make the judgment to say if they think it's useful, they're gonna use it, they think the reason is actually makes sense. And for the digital health company I'm in right now, we don't have a ton of the patient's data. That's like the very obvious difference. And we build like a Alzheimer care app for the caregivers. and we build like chatbots, like powered by large language models, either internally or externally. So think it's, well, if you say overall, they're all data science, but if you talk more into the details, it's a little bit not
Got
as
it, got it. Okay, so that's interesting. So it sounds like your first company that you were with in this space was more, you're working a lot more in regards to this patient churn or retention model, I'd like to call it, versus so possibly the direct to consumer was there versus your current company is not necessarily direct to consumer specifically. So it's a little bit different how you build your models and work through some of those nuances. Okay. So at your current company, you're building tools for Alzheimer's caregivers and AI chatbots for the call center. What does that day-to-day work look like?
So because the Alzheimer caregiver app, it's a big app, and the chatbot is just one component of it. When we're building the chatbot, we're working with like other teams and business, more specifically for the chatbot part, where it's empowered by large language models, and we want to make sure, because it's facing the customer directly, we want to sure we have enough guardrails so that the chatbot does not give wrong information, wrong suggestions. It does not give any misleading information. We have all these kind of keywords, or it has to detect certain danger words and respond accordingly. We have to do a lot of testings to make sure the chatbot is behaving the way we want.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So those guardrails make a lot of sense, especially with everything going on. You want to make sure things are accurate or at least specific in certain parameters. So let's get a little bit more general and talk about what I like to call AI in real world. There's so much noise around AI in healthcare. From your hands-on experience building these tools, what's actually working today versus what's still hype, in your opinion?
Well, I think what's working is like, as I said, like the chatbot is working, and like the call center is working. Is based on the like knowledge base we have.
Hmm.
So it will give like either the caregiver or some nurses some guidance and stuff. And we have like all this AI agent and vibe coding and everything. It's accelerating. Previously, if we are to build an AI, like say a chatbot or any kind of tool, it takes, let's say, 1 to 2 weeks, couple people working together. 1 2 weeks is like fast comparatively for a POC. But now
Hmm.
with like the cursor, it's just that you do the wipe coding, you tell the agent what you want, all these details. The more detailed, the better, and they
Hmm.
can just build a tool for you. It changes from like days to hours for a POC. It's
Wow.
fascinating.
So you're saying from 2 weeks to possibly hours is what you're
Yeah,
seeing in development.
for a POC. I still remember when we were at the first kidney care company, the
Hmm.
company actually embraced the AI very early. Like, I think like many years ago when I was still working there, we wanted to start build like an internal chatbot for employee benefits. It's taking a really long time, even though we have a very experienced engineer. And he's like so passionate about large language models, so passionate about chatbot, about rack system, all this thing, but it still takes him a long time because he need to build the front end, he need to build the back end, he need to select what is the best tool, what's the best package and everything. And then we do all this testing, and the
Hmm.
timeline just because he's very ambitious and I want to get this done. But it eventually still takes, I think after I left, it still take them over like a year to make
Wow.
this thing into production. But
Interesting.
now it takes for 1 year to put one chatbot into production. It's something unimaginable. It's like way too long, probably like a month
Hmm.
tops.
And that takes me to my next question. I think you answered a part of it, but what are organizations still getting wrong when they try to adopt AI? Because it sounds like there is a significant amount of development time in one organization versus the other. Does that have to do with technology evolving, or just the two different organizations, or a little bit of both?
Well, I think it's a little bit both because how AI is changing, it's so fast.
Hmm.
every every day, every week, you see all this new news about how AI is evolving, and all these big tech companies is publishing their new models
Hmm.
very fast, competing. Every November of every year, all these big companies they just start publishing, and they're competing with each other to see who has the best model. And from the one we're building the chatbot in the kidney care company to now we're building all this call center chatbot, this app chatbot in this digital health company. Things has changed dramatically, drastically. So that's the techie part. And I think also when companies they hearing all this AI buzz, it's like, oh, we need to do something about AI. If we don't do AI, we're falling behind. So we
Absolutely.
have to do something about AI.
Yeah.
So probably I can't tell for everybody, but from what I see, you can't jump ahead. You said I we want to use AI, and then what? Probably is we have a problem. How AI can help?
Yeah.
Then I think that it flows better.
Yeah. That makes sense. Getting back to the original question, what do you feel like organizations are still getting wrong? Just kind of the whole thought process, like you identified, or something else?
I think it's still when companies are trying to do AI, they do a lot of POC,
Hmm.
and they show like a lot of probably consulting companies or internals that do a lot of POC and
Hmm.
got people all hyped up. They're all really excited.
Yeah.
But when it comes to production, there's still a gap between
Yeah.
POC and the production. So they might want to think about what questions can AI actually solve, and then move think about production
Yeah.
instead of doing all this a lot of POCs and say, okay, AI has great potentials, but when turned to production, things just dramatically change. We have so many POC, but very limited that goes to production. And
Got
the
it.
goal
Got
is
it.
to go to production.
Okay. So obviously, you and I have worked together for a long time across different companies. So that brings me to another question, just off reservation a little bit. The adoption of the AI, how much of that you feel like it has to do with organizations are afraid to make a mistake or make a decision that's AI based that ends up being something that might cause a lawsuit or cause something to go off the rails? How much of that you feel like is a part of that adoption?
100%, a hundred
A
percent
hundred.
agree.
That's a
No,
big
no,
number.
no. I mean, I 100% agree with you. There
Yeah,
are companies thinking about it, but not like all the companies afraid. I
yeah.
think it's some industries they might adopt AI more easily
Mm-hmm.
than other industries. Like healthcare has more, how say, compliance and all this.
Yeah.
So people might be a little bit hesitant to adopt AI to a broader degree or too much.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the trend is there.
Yeah.
Everybody is trying to do something with AI, and everybody's trying to use AI to help either solve their problems or do some initiatives.
Yeah, I completely agree. The number one use that I'm seeing in the healthcare space is Copilot or the ambient listening for providers within hospital systems. That seems like the one that's, from the numbers that's being adopted the most because it's probably a safe thing, something that's taking notes, maybe making some suggestions that you don't necessarily have to agree on or act on. So, but that seems like the one that's moving the fastest. So, but it'll
Mm,
be interesting to see what happens over the next upcoming years. So, thank you for your insights and input on that.
yeah.
Let's shift a little bit to get more technical. So, AI agents and vibe coding, the new frontier. You said that AI agents have fundamentally changed how you work as a data scientist. So, for our listeners, can you explain what that looks like day to day?
So if you talk about like vibe coding,
Hmm.
one important concept is like the it's called prompt. Prompt basic is what you tell the large language model or tell the agent what you want to build.
Hmm.
And the more detailed you give, instruction, and the better the result will comes out. So like web coding basically is telling the agent what you want to build, and it will build it for you. It also depends on the different kind of models. Like I use this tool called Cursor. It allows you to choose different large language models for your agent, so you can even compare. And one really interesting thing I discovered is like the OpenAI's model versus Claude's model versus Gemini's model. You can tell the agent say, okay, I want to build this, and all this detailed description in the markdown file, and then
Hmm.
you can mention, okay, write this code really good because the OpenAI model gonna review your code and give suggestions. And what happens is like the model actually says, oh, if my code will be reviewed by Codex, I need to write it into a higher standard. So you can see all this competing relationship.
Got
That
it.
very
Got
interesting.
it. That makes sense. So with the AI tool, obviously shifting a little bit, it's to me in my mind, it's a tool. If I was giving somebody a tool belt with a hammer, saw, a screwdriver, how one person uses it can be significantly different how another person uses it, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with experience from what I've seen. So
Mhm.
I personally know folks that have almost no technical experience that are writing and building models. Now I have a realtor, I have a dentist that are just experimenting. They've built just in this year over 10 models and they have no background in the tech space,
Yes,
but it's
yes.
about being curious. So what advice do you give folks that are a little shy getting into using some of these tools that would help them to kind of figure out prompts or what to do? I know there's some preset prompts and tools and things like that out there, but to me, it all boils down to willingness and curiousness. I think those are important. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you you nailed it. It's the willingness and curiosity. One thing I personally think this agent like area is it brings the gap between the non-technical people and the technical people much smaller than it used to be.
Mhm.
Previously, if you're non-technical, if you want to build a mobile app, that seems basically impossible. But now with vibe coding, you can actually build your own app in this kind of cursor tools, do with all your prompt, and you just tell the agent what kind of app you want to build, and it will build it for you.
Yeah.
If it doesn't look like the way you want, just tell the agent how to improve it and how to make the change. I know for a non-technical person, building an app or building a website sounds a little bit too much, too complicated and scary, but it can happen. And it's
Mhm.
actually relatively very easy right now with all these vibe coding tools. And when I first used Cursor, when they like started, I tried to build like this AI survey tool. So like a survey tool backed up with a large language model, so you can just talk, communicate, and the large language model will, like based on some preset questions and stuff, will talk with you based on your response. And I write my prompt, all details and stuff, and the Cursor just build it, back end, front end, everything, and I can start testing locally immediately. That's a little bit scary,
It
honestly.
has its pros and cons, obviously. I mean, from where we've started to where we're at now with the engineering and development, with the assistance of AI and the building of things, it's on steroids. Let's just say that from where
Yeah.
we started to now.
Well, it's scary,
Yeah,
but I think it's also very exciting.
very.
Exciting, like if you're a product manager, you can do this kind of prototype and see how you vision the product to be. And even I see moms want to build a website for birthday parties for the kiddo because he cannot find a good tool, good website to set up the kiddo's birthday party. So she thinks, how about I just build one myself? And it's worked perfect. Yeah, so it's like
Wow.
empowers normal people, the like the ability, you can do whatever you want. You can build whatever app you want. So
Hmm.
it's very fascinating. It's a good time.
It is. It is. I tell folks this all the time that, it is a little scary, but it's very exciting. And what a time to be alive because we're witnessing probably one of the biggest shifts in
Mhm.
history. It's shaping so much. It's such an exciting time. Curious to see where everything's gonna end up. So you talked a little bit about things that takes days and now takes hours because of these tools. Can
Mhm.
you talk a little bit about what's the gap between vibe coded proof of concept versus something that's ready for production? How real is that gap?
There's, of course, for sure, there's a gap between the proof concept and to production. It's like the vibe coding has already done a tremendous amount of work for you already. And
Hmm.
like previously, the front engineer and engineering and back end engineering, they do all this work alongside the like the UI UX designer and everything. But now you have all this POC ready. And when you think about production, you still need a human to review the code to make sure it's all production ready. You still need to
Hmm.
do a lot of testing and you do some logging, all this documentation, all this unnecessary to make sure you have your product solid. It's not just the vibe coding had a POC and you tried it once, it works, and then boom, put it into production. That will set you up for fail. But if the POC gets you somewhere, you have a professional engineer to review the code, make it more complete and more robust, do those all this testing, everything. Then I think the production is it's good.
Like we mentioned, I feel like we're heading in the right direction. Things start get complicated. You have agents that you build, you have teams of agents, and you have managing agents. Then you have to have human in the loop or above the loop, checking all of these things out. What's your thoughts on that? Are there any potholes we need to look out for, in your opinion, when it comes to the scale of things?
I think like for our team, we have the ML ops. I think is like super important for all this POCs goes into production. Like even after we do the engineering, make it complete, review the code and do all this testing stuff, once everything is ready, we still need someone who actually knows how all the system works, how cloud, like the GCP or AWS, how all this thing works to make it successfully deploy.
Hmm. Yeah. Let's shift a little bit about driving impact with a lean team, because obviously, with technology in place now, teams are becoming a lot leaner and more efficient. And that's kind of just a shift in the industry. So, you lead AI initiatives at your company, but work with just one or two contractors rather than a big team. How do you drive meaningful impact with that kind of setup?
Well, I think even though our team is small, we're actually doing a lot of like meaningful and very interesting projects.
Yeah.
And often, like the projects start with a business idea, and they're thinking, okay, we have this problem we want to solve. How can AI help us? And then we jumped in, we get business requirements, and then we have a rough idea. So what we do as our team, we want to show something to the business at the very initial meetings we have, or even after our first meeting, and we see, okay, business want this. Let's see what the agent can do or what cursor can do. And then we
Hmm.
build a prototype very initially based on the requirements. And then we show to business, and business loves it or give us feedback and everything, but it keeps the projects moving and it also makes the business think, okay, we're making really good progress. They are listening to all these ideas I have and they're actually solving the problem.
Hmm.
Then we go further and further. And when new projects come along, we do the same thing. But all this, even though we only have like this many people, but we do a lot of the initial let's say POC stuff, try to see to show to the business where we are, what we can do, what we are capable of, and then all this will lead to actual projects down the road. And then we have the real engineer comes in, and then we have the testing team comes in, and then we have the ML ops. So at the very beginning, when you are exploring with the business, you don't need a whole team like this many people to work on those all these hours. Now we have the cursor or the AI code, the vibe coding. We just show them, okay, is this what you're looking for? Is this what you're visioning? And then we make the it's a real product.
Mm. Absolutely. I'm seeing from a lot of large enterprise organizations are shifting to what you guys have there, to where you're more directly connected with the business. Decisions are made quicker. There's more impact faster, and the visibility is there as far as what they want to see and what they want to work on. And so, especially with the influx of technology and not needing as many people to be involved in all of these roadblocks and different approvals, I think what you guys have there is actually what I'm seeing a lot of organizations move towards.
Hmm.
Very
I think
interesting.
yeah, that makes sense because
Yeah.
when you're trying to get the project or show your value, you don't need to do all this high level coding and everything. You just need to show we can do this. This is
Yeah.
our value. We can solve your problem. And then you have a comprehensive solution.
Yes, yes, definitely. So, just like you said, a lot of folks assume you need a massive data team to do real AI work. With tools like AI agents, that equation has changed, basically, is what you're telling me. So, I am 100% in agreement. So, let's shift again to this part of the segment, keeping it human. So, from building the Alzheimer's Caregivers app at your organization, what did you learn about designing for people under real emotional stress? That's a part of the reason I got into healthcare because I really saw the impact to contribute to help people. And it's meaningful work. I'll let you answer that question, but it means a lot to me as well.
Yeah, yeah, I 100% agree. I think caregiving to Alzheimer's disease patients is actually very exhausting. Like it can have different stages, but the more stage the later stage the patient is, the more difficult it is to give care. And that also gives the caregiver a lot of stress, mentally stress, and all this how to take care of the patients. And for our cases, a lot of people who are taking care of the Alzheimer's disease are actually like the patient's daughter or like
It's a relative.
their relatives, and they themselves are like not in the 20s but probably 40, 50s. And so when we are when we're discussing with the business, one key thing we're thinking they constantly tell us is we have to make sure our app is actually useful and is easy to use for our users, like either to track the system or talk with our chatbot or generate this report so that they can take to discuss with the doctor. All of this need to be very easy to use,
Hmm.
and the words need to be big and easy for them to read, and all these buttons is also easy to navigate and it's convenient. We actually get to talk with one client when we're troubleshooting one issue they have, and I asked her like, "What do you think of our app? Is our app actually helping you?" And she said, "Yeah, it's very convenient for me to use. I just use it before I go to bed, do some documentation and everything. It's very convenient." So I'm actually very happy to hear that. I'm not like the business owner, but as somebody who contribute a little bit to the actual app, it's very nice to hear that.
It is, and it has to be rewarding. I love that. I love that you guys were thoughtful in the design of this, and because this, just like any other disease or condition, it affects one person in a family, it affects the whole family. So
Hmm. Yeah.
whether you have to be thoughtful of the patient themselves, you have to be thoughtful of the relatives that's also
Hmm.
helping with care, and you also have to be thoughtful of the provider that might be coming to do in-home care and those types of things. So you have to
Yeah.
factor all those things in because it's a village to help to drive some of the health support that's needed for these types of conditions.
Hmm. Yes, and I like what you're saying is like work in the healthcare industry can actually help with people either directly or indirectly. As long as there are some help there, I think it's
Yeah.
good. It's nice.
So let's talk a little bit about the other side. So healthcare data is sensitive. How
Hmm.
do you think about trust and transparency when building tools that touch patient care?
Yeah, healthcare industries for sure very like sensitive. We have this HIPAA compliance, we have all this training, we have compliance training, I think, every quarter to make sure we're aware of all these kind of situations. And we have like our legal team, security team, everyone is like making sure when we use AI tools, when we build all these kind of solutions, it's safe. Like the patient data is safe, and all this their conversations with the chatbot and their usage of the app is also all very safe. So I think that's like the bottom line for any healthcare app you want to build. Data security is like the very important thing. That's why we have all these guardrails with our chatbot to make sure our chatbot is giving appropriate like answers.
Hmm.
Mhm.
That makes a lot of sense, and it's important to be mindful of those things as you're designing those apps and those programs. So thank you for
Mhm.
that.
Yeah. Just
So
one thing.
yeah.
I was actually talking with my friend. She recently found a new dentist.
Hmm.
And when her dentist was like saying, okay, when I talk with about you with like a potential treatment plan, what is your top concerns or like top consideration, either the cost or the treatment or technology or the trust? And she said, okay, to her, trust is actually a very important factor. If she
Hmm.
trusts the doctor, she would trust the whole solution and the whole team and everything. If she does not, if there's no trust, then she'll probably go find a different opinion, or she would rethink or about this whole situation a lot more.
Absolutely. I love that. I think that's right in line with the way that I think and where the industry needs to understand that it's not just about a solution or a cost. It has, you have to have that trust in that relationship to drive that synergy and that interaction. So thank you for sharing that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So what's next? Let's talk a little bit about where you feel like the industry is going. So where do you think agentic AI will take healthcare in the next few years?
I think it will be, how to say, like the AI will keep evolving for sure and getting more and more powerful, and it will hopefully, I believe so, it will help solve more like more issues or problems in the healthcare industry.
Hmm.
As for the specific like role, like us, the role of data scientist, I think we will still be there, but our like, how to say, our job responsibility might change from like doing the coding on all this thing, or it might blend with product manager. We can talk sometime, probably talk with business and talk with other teams
Yeah.
to have this solution work. It's probably not like a one single thing, but I think AI is just like any other major, how to say, major evolution. Like when cars was invented, when computers was invented, some jobs, it's for sure going to disappear, but new jobs will appear as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that I think we shouldn't be like concerned and scary of all this. AI gonna take my job. I'm gonna lose my job. Well, I used to saw that too. It's like when I first use cursor, it's like so scary. But when you learn more, you become the person who knows how to use AI, and
Hmm.
that adds your value.
Oh yeah,
That's what I think.
I agree. I mean, we've all seen these movies, and it's funny how some of these things come into reality. That you'll see how in some of the movies, some of these technologies evolve civilizations, and the roles shift to where the humans actually are working for the computer or the machines to do the physical labor or the checking on AI systems running. I think we're a long way from that.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. But there's definitely a lot of shift happening in the industry, and a lot will happen in the next few years. So, if we were to have this conversation again in 5 years, let's just say 5 years. What do you think will have fundamentally changed about how data scientists work, if you were to guess?
Well, I think I probably jumped ahead a little bit when we talk about the roles. I think for
Yeah.
data scientists to work, they'll for sure be vibe coding still,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, for sure you're still changing the business ideas and questions into all these kind of solutions,
Mm-hmm.
but the timeline now it's already like very short. But I think in the future, because how comprehensive the AI model is going to be, and then their code quality will likely to be much better. We're already seeing this happening from the very beginning. If we ask AI to code for something, it has a lot of bugs. But now the AI coding quality has improved so much. The code is almost there, but we still need engineers to help.
Mm-hmm.
But the
Mm-hmm.
degree, the level has drastically changed.
Definitely. I have my own ideas. I won't share those for now because, obviously things we're working on, but I feel like there's a lot of cool stuff that will happen. A lot of things will change. We just have to adjust and adapt. And, the trust, the security, the understanding of risk, I think is going to be key as we move forward because you're talking about having systems and technology in place that affect not just financial outcomes, but actual health and lives.
Hmm.
So until that's figured out, I think it's going to get slow rolled as long as possible. So
Hmm.
um, I think we're aligned there. So let's jump to our game changers round, just kind of quick hits before we wrap up. So, one myth about AI in healthcare you'd love to bust.
Well, I think I heard people said AI is going to replace doctors. That's not going to happen. I think it's one thing that AI can help
Hmm.
or help the doctor to some level based on the symptoms, but I don't think AI will ever replace a doctor.
Yeah.
We still trust doctor a lot more regarding diagnosis and everything than an AI.
Absolutely. Okay. Yep. I'm aligned with that one too. Um, One thing that every healthcare company should stop doing with AI.
Uh, well, I don't have a lot of experience with a lot of healthcare companies, but I think from what I see, some companies they try to do all these quick demos, quick POCs to the executive to see, okay, what are our values? We should use AI and all this thing. Probably more is we have an actual case or we try to build a tool or solution to impress the people who will actually use AI, like the nurses or
Hmm.
like the patient who actually will benefit from the specific AI solutions instead of like have this all this big giant pictures. How can AI help the industry and everything? But more narrowed down to a specific use case.
Absolutely. One word to describe the future of healthcare.
The future of healthcare, I think I'm seeing the trend is companies are trying to make the care more about you,
Hmm.
more about like a specific individual. They want to create like solutions or this kind of treatment based on your own history, your own data. So it's more personalized instead of like a general treatment. You will have your own, I think, personal. Everybody will be more personal. And actually, I think I read a news about this little girl or a boy, just a little child. When when the baby was born, it has this natural disease, which is very rare to cure, and to develop a how to say to develop like a medication to cure this, it'll take like millions of dollars and for like for a couple years for the FDA to approve and something. But it does happen to say there's a lab which is actually specific like study for this kind of condition, and then they just specifically developed a medication for this baby, and the FDA also come up with a much shorter approval period because this med is just for this little baby and get approved much faster and the baby get to use it and then got treated. That's something I think is unimaginable years ago. But now the technology, all this medication, all this advancement can actually specifically help this little baby. When I read the news, I was like, lucky baby and also great technology.
I love it. I think that's a great story, and it makes sense. And having had a career in the actuarial space, that just makes sense to me. It just, but unfortunately, a lot of things are about dollars, so as we shift and move forward to how you can make impact faster, I think those are some of the things we need to see. So thank you for that. I have one more question, and then
Yeah.
we'll close out. What does being a game changer mean to you?
I think I would think I personally changed how my career would went and how my life would have been. Sometimes I think about if I stayed in China, if I'm still teaching in university, who I would be, what kind of life I will have.
Hmm.
I think being a game changer for myself is not like doing crazy important things. It's just to make some changes that meaningful to you, like to myself.
Yeah,
My jump from the English major to the business analytics major in data science is a game changing thing to me. And finding the job here in the healthcare industry is also game changing to me because I don't think when I was like doing my master's degree in the analytics, I was not thinking like, oh, I want to go into the healthcare industry. I'm going to do all these cool models and build this chatbot and all these AI solutions. But as all these decisions are made, those are changing my games. Those are like my game changer. I think for everybody, no matter how the world is, like how the AI is changing the world, all this thing, I think you have to be the one who is the game changer for you because nobody, no matter what everybody else is saying, it's all on you. Like and you take the responsibility and you also enjoy the outcome.
absolutely. Perfect answer. Um, as you may not know, I mentor a lot of folks. So when I tell them, and you hit all of them, because you are, in my mind, a game changer, because it all starts with the what I call CCD. So curiosity,
Mm.
courage, and drive. So you hit all of those because you had the curiosity and courage to do something else, and you have the drive to see it through. That is elements of a true game changer. And I think what you're doing is instrumental in the industry and in your space. So we applaud you for that. I love to give folks their flowers. So thank you so much for sharing your insights today and keep up the great work at your organization. And any closing words you want to leave us with today?
Uh, well, thank you for giving me the time. It's great. Always enjoy talking with you. One last thing is like for anyone I think who are thinking to start using the AI tool, doing some vibe coding, you can just start. Like because you think of this thing for so many times when you actually do it, that's when you get impressed by how powerful it is and what kind of thing they can do.
Yeah.
So that's how you you see it's actually happening, doing the coding on its own on the screen. And when you're trying to, and if you're for the anyone, if you're watching, you're looking for a job when you just graduate, you have to, as my husband always say, you have to have a sick face, like face here, because he always say I have a sick face. When I was about to graduate, I need to find a job, uh, like I asked this professor who only did one lecture for us, and he was doing this analytics breakfast thing. Who was talking about healthcare is like in data is helping healthcare. I was like, this sounds really cool and like a really meaningful thing to do. I want to find a job here. So I actually talked with the professor. It says, I did this capstone in healthcare and learning all this. Do you have any opportunities? And then he said, well, if you're interested and you're from our school, let me see, you can talk with this person. So that's why I talked with like my first manager in the kidney care company. We had the
Mhm.
interviews and all this. Then that's where my career journey started. So sick face.
Excellent. Glad to hear that it worked out. And there was one question I did skip, and I guess you kind of touched on it, but one piece of advice for someone thinking about switching careers into data science. What would you tell tell them?
Like I feel like for any normal people, if you're thinking to changing it, you have to do it. You have to stop thinking like, oh, what if I change to data science major, all this, or if I want to be a data scientist, there are all already this many people doing this. How can I compete with them? But you have to start do it, start
Hmm.
vibe coding, start learning something, and then that's when you start and you have all this and you start doing some connecting, try to know people, whether from like the meetup groups or through friends or through colleagues. You have to start somewhere, and you will discover it's not as scary as you think it would be. With all this technology advancement, it's actually
Hmm.
a pretty cool like area to work.
Absolutely. Courage, curiosity, and drive. That's what you got to have
That's
that
the
too.
key
So
thing. Yes.
that's right. So thank you so much, Lou, for the time today. I really appreciate it. It's been fantastic. I'm sure the audience will be happy to hear your insights, and you're covering what a data scientist is and some thoughts around the industry. So thank you for joining us, and I appreciate it. And have an amazing rest of your weekend.
You too. Have a good one. Thank you for having me.